for coming to hear today's ATA. This is a topic that we all know is near and dear to Tim's heart, and it encompasses our core values with Paige. So thank you, Tim, for volunteering to do this and wanting to speak. The master of this. So everybody, Tim Reader.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. And I will say I've done a lot of ATAs for 2 years. But I don't prepare for them very well. A little bit of all that. Well, so today we're talking about community involvement, industry involvement, and I'm actually this isn't going to be as much of me barking at you all this information, more of a conversation about industry and community involvement and how it impacts us. I'm going to talk about what I've done and over the years and how it's helped me. But then I'm going to be specifically talking to some of you guys and hearing about your experiences, what you've been doing, what you know other people do, and just basically an open conversation. Now, in a little bit of the marketing, you may have seen we use the word belong. Belong is kind of an initiative we're working on within Better Homes. We haven't really kind of buttoned it up, so I'm not gonna talk about that so much. The whole concept is about getting out in your community and finding a place where you could belong, essentially. So we're still working on what that looks like, but community and industry involvement is again what we're talking about. And first of all, there's a distinction between the two. And they're both wildly important, but what we do is different. Community, obviously, in the community, industry, right here in real estate or whatever you do. So first, I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about what I've been doing. I've been a realtor for now 26, 27 years. And some of the things I've done over the years and how that's helped me. And then since I have the floor, I'll tell you about some of the stuff I got going on right now because that's very exciting. And then I'm going to call on some of you guys in the room to have an open conversation about how this is. So when I was a new realtor a long time ago, I wasn't involved in anything. I didn't know any different. I was young. Jerry Ahlvers, who was one of the big people I respected at CBS Home at the time, he was the president of the Nebraska Real Estate Commission, the Nebraska Association of Realtors. I don't remember his exact, but what he did was he was just going around telling them how important it was to get involved in the community. And some of you may have heard me say this, or sorry, industry. He kept saying, he was doing what I'm doing now. He was going through the whole company saying, you got to get involved, you got to get involved, you got to get involved. And then the company was really pushing it. Now, he wasn't saying community, he was saying industry. Now, that was when we started getting on community committees. We started getting on Omaha Area Board of Realtors committees, Nebraska Association of Realtor committees, all sorts of different stuff. My favorite one at that time was I went to the Nebraska Real Estate Commission and I joined the Grievance committee. And I was on the Grievance committee for 4 years. That was really, really fun. I didn't even know what I was doing myself. So the Grievance committee, was that a good story? Yes. So the Grievance committee is basically, it's when real estate professionals have problems with other real estate professionals within our industry, or if a real estate agent gets turned into the real estate commission. You hear about that? And so what they would do is they would have, there was about 8 of us. I should say, there still is. And there's this committee out there. I'm just not on it anymore. About 8 of us throughout the state, and they intentionally had us sprinkled around the state. And we would get a phone call that said, hey, we've got a case coming up. And at that time, we would listen to about 1 case every 6 months. And what it was, they would email us the case, and we had already signed major confidentiality paper. And it was a lot of dirt. I mean, it was the contracts, it was what was happening, who was suing who, or getting turned in. And then what we, as the Grievance committee, and everything, and all the paperwork, and then we would have a phone call. Nowadays, I'm sure it would be so. And we would discuss it further. And then we, as this group of real estate professionals, decided whether or not we felt that case was worthy of going up to the next level. So that's one thing I learned about real estate, is that if I did do something wrong, which thank God I've never been in that position, that there was a level of my peers, so to speak, were going to help decide whether or not this case was bogus. And a lot of them honestly were bogus. They were things, most of them got thrown out. Most of them were things that the real estate commission didn't want to make that judgment call. They turned it over to us. We listened to the cases and we decided that one needs to be thrown out. But then some of them went on to be elevated to something bigger. That was a lot of fun. So then after that, I started getting involved in other communities, other things. Well, in the early 2000s, as somebody who I was really starting to specialize in old homes, I joined or I helped create a group called 2020 Omaha. I said it was actually 1999 because the goal was from year 2020, from the year 2000 to 2020, we wanted to list 20 properties on the National Register of Historic Places. And we did that for about 11 years. Several of our people passed away, but but in the meantime, we did a lot of really great good. We got a lot of the neon up and down Leavenworth Street. So Leavenworth Street used to have a lot more neon from downtown to Salad Creek. I mean, it was filled with neon, almost like Las Vegas. And over the days, it's been taken down. And as you'll see now, there's hardly anything. I mean, there's Pepe, which is our lead neon. And then, that's La Casa has a neon sign, is this Pepe. We got that listed on the National Register. What we did for attention, by the way, is we made these little mustaches. Yeah, we did all these little pictures of people around town with this little mustache. He looked like Pepe, the pizza guy. Anyway, so in the 11 years that we worked together, we got that listed. We got apartment buildings listed. But our biggest win was the bridge going over Dodge Street on the Memorial Park Bridge. That was being slated to be torn down because they wanted to widen Dodge again. And so we were like, no. So we hurried up and listed that. Now, I've learned so much because of the nonprofit things I've been involved. One of the things is that actually properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places can get torn down, and more of them get torn down than get saved, to be honest. But that one was a federal one because it was part of the federal highways. And because of that, because of our little group getting that listed, they couldn't take it down, which means they couldn't widen Dodge Street. And so that little group had a huge impact. And also out of that group started another group called Restore Omaha. And Restore Omaha for years ran conferences and home tours, yada, yada. That has since meshed and merged into a whole new organization called Restoration Exchange Omaha. So I wasn't part of that for years. Now I'm back being part of that. And coincidentally, I'm now the president of Restoration Exchange Omaha. And that has also been wild. It's fun. It's fun. I'm out in my community. I'm meeting people like you wouldn't believe. And I have so many stories from the people I meet or the way I'm getting involved in the community or the way it stands out. So some of you probably have seen lately, been on the news a lot, and that's because I created a story. I created news is what I mean to say. So we're not going too much into the weeds. As president of Restoration Exchange, we're looking for a building to save, a building that we can preserve, a building that we can do something with. And there is a in Forest Lawn Cemetery. Who here has not heard of this or seen this on the news? Okay, good. So I don't have to go through the whole thing. So that, trying to save that house, even though we're not saving it, it's going to get torn down, has been, oh my God, it's been incredible. The number of clients that have come out of the woodwork, the number of other volunteers, this organization, Restoration Exchange Omaha, which when I became president in December, our plan was to close it down. It was dying. There's nothing happening. We have so much energy and excitement and attention and money has come since we created that news story. And people are coming out of the woodwork, money, people are volunteering their money. Just looking at our donations, we have a website. People can donate. I mean, it's just all of a sudden money's popping in. And it's just been fun to see that happen. I'm also on the board of Prospect Hill Cemetery. That one was something else that two of my A+ clients are on the board of Prospect Hill Cemetery. It's a historic cemetery at 32nd Park. And these are the things that get me excited. I love old history stuff. Well, these two clients kept asking me to join. And then finally, about a year and a half ago, I wasn't ready to join. It was too busy. I thought I was too busy. They asked me if I would sponsor their Memorial Park event. And I was like, sure, it was $1,000. And we asked other people to sponsor stuff. They asked me. So I sponsored that, and then I went to the event, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I mean, that thing was just, there's a band, there's all these people, there's trumpet players. I mean, it's this huge memorial event. The news is there. And then they called my name as our lead sponsor, Tim Reeder, and they were waving at me, and I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea. I was hiding behind a tree because I really honestly I was not wanting that attention. And I still don't. Even though business comes from this, my heart isn't in it for the right reason. The business just happens to be the side. So the Prospect Hill Cemetery, while that also has amazing, really great, almost creepy stories I could share.
You need what? Or a coat?
Somebody is not on mute.
Zoom attendees, please. Mute yourself unless you have a comment and then just ask.
I think
Just
you can let me know if they do. So being on the Prospect Hill Cemetery board has also been not only did I strengthen a relationship I have with two of my A+ clients, but it's been very rewarding. It's been really exciting. We, as part of our finance committee, with this cemetery in the 1970s was banned. The city was leaving it alone. And then all of a sudden, some people came along. We're like, we need to save this. It was a group of people. And they have, with not a single major fundraiser, and just one question by relationship by relationship, they have built their endowment to the highest of $750,000. Just, and the highest donation they ever got was $10,000. And so the cemetery, you got to go there. It's just absolutely spectacular. When I got on board as part of the finance committee, and we had started applying for loans, and we applied for grants. We applied for a grant. That's a joke. We didn't think we'd get it, and we got it $855,000. And we are using that money in the summer, and we're restoring the caretaker cottage, the one that's still standing, not the one that's getting torn down. It's a totally different cemetery. We're restoring the fencing. We're restoring everything. And it's just been really exciting. That's just a group of us getting together and trying to make this happen. And so that's just been really, really fun. So there's just so many things about Dundee Merchant Association. That's Audra in the back, her and I are both on the Dundee Merchant Association. That is also, I know it's business to business in Dundee. That's also right. I'm meeting people that didn't have realtors. I'm being part of my community. We're making all sorts of really wonderful improvements right there in our neighborhood. And it's just been extremely fun. So I just can't get enough of this community aspect. And it's like the more I get out there, the more it comes back to me. And there are so many other people in our organization that can attest to things just like that. So while I do still have more things to talk about, I want to talk to, I'm going to call out a few people first. Darla Bengtson. Darla has been with us for a while now. She is wildly involved in an industry environment, which is RPAC. And if you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about you being involved in that and what other organizations you have or are involved in. What you get from that, what you've gotten from that, and what keeps you going.
So, Jerry Ahlvers is also a big RPAC guy. So besides RPAC, I first initially got involved with Women's Council of Realtors when I was a lender. And then when I got my license, I still was involved as president. These ladies are involved in it. She is the president-elect for next year. And so industry involvement, I see benefits. People think, why do you want to meet with people in your industry, with other realtors, things like that? Well, first of all, the deals go so much better. You know that they're actually putting in the effort in themselves and in their industry, that their transactions do run smoother. We all are able to meet affiliates or strategic partners, whatever you want to call them, so that you get to meet your inspectors, your bug guys, all of those, because they're also very involved in the industry. And I feel the people who do that and take the time, maybe some money, the effort to do that, are more in tune with their business and with the realtors. So that's a big one. I'm a director on the Omaha Area Board of Realtors as well. And So my term is up this year, but I have applied for again the next 2 years, so we'll see how that goes. And being involved with that, well, daughter Megan was the president, and so she asked if I would co-chair our path with Charles and Chuck. So we did because. And so I did that, and our PAC is Realtor Political Action Committee. I don't care for politics at all. Charles, on the other hand, is very in tune with it. So I have, my mentality is I invest in financially and in people that I know will watch out for our industry, our homeowners, and protect like different bills that they're trying to slide through that will cost us jobs. It will cost us money. It could cost our homeowners as well. So I feel that's a huge thing as far as about that. Also, this is my 5th year receiving the Market Excellence. And I think that you should go on to the Nebraska Realtor Association site and pull that up, because that will ask you, and you can almost grade you on how involved you are, because you have to be involved. You get points for community involvement, you get points for your designation, you get points for committee meetings, for being just going and being an attendee, a visitor for a committee meeting, things like that. And I think it's a good report card, because the more involved you are, the more you can tell your clients that, and they will know that you put in the extra effort to keep current in your position.
Now, while at the same time you said, our number one goal is not necessarily to get clients out of it. It's really, you're here to improve yourself and get better, but I'm assuming you've seen your business grow.
Oh gosh. The year I was president of Women's Council was extremely busy. Like, you know how it is where you think if you get too busy, you won't have enough time. Actually, I think it makes you much more balanced in your life, and you find time and you get things done more efficiently, at least me. So that, and I have also had my client's offer accepted because they Googled and saw that I was president of Women's Council, and our bid was even like $500 lower, but they just felt like it would go smoother. So
Legitimacy of the agent.
yeah, and I think that we do look at that and advise our clients on that. We do that with lenders, you know, we advise them on home inspectors, things like that. So it's just another, I mean, you should feel good doing it for you because you're staying on top of it and you're learning and growing yourself. But there's always the benefit to, and you can help your clients better too.
Laura, would you mind just looking up for a moment? You're really involved in Springfield.
Business association. Yeah, so I've been involved in the industry as well, and I highly recommend that. But I do a lot locally in Springfield. I reestablished the Springfield Business Association, and then several years later, after we kind of got that up and running, I got asked to be part of the Springfield Community Foundation, which had been there for a while, but really not been very active. And that, it brings me joy, and that's why I do it. I get business from it because people just see that I'm out there doing things. Like we're redoing flower pots on Main Street because the city puts plastic flowers and they're ugly. And so we're like, can we just change this? So we just get people together and we you know, we take it to the city and they say, yeah, if you guys want to fund it and do that. And it makes a difference. People like walking down the street and not seeing trash with plastic flowers. You know, so we do little things like that. I'm hoping to help grow the foundation so that we can make some big things happen. So trying to work on big things while we do small things, but I do it because I get joy out of it. I saw a need for the business association to get reestablished because there's a lot of little things in town we needed to do, and we needed to have small businesses come together. So we've got that kind of running and working on its own now. And so I'm still actively involved, but the foundation part is the one that's really, I hope, makes a bigger difference. And I hope maybe you can help me figure out how to get these grants, these huge grants.
Yeah, she's like, what?
I know, that's huge. Yeah, so I do it because it brings me joy, but obviously when you're out there, people know who you are and you get invited to be part of things, so.
Anything on the radar, like, are you doing anything coming up with that?
Well, we just got a grant from Meta that, for some signage that we're gonna do in town. And so the lady that is now in charge of the regional, like, community, she just wanted to meet today, so I'm the person that gets to go meet with her, to talk about, they want to get involved in Springfield Days, which we don't run, but they think we do. So we get to have that meeting and we're like, yeah, if you want to pay for, the band or something, but then we get to continue to having those conversations, so I can pitch another idea I have, and maybe they'll want to help fund it, so.
It is funny, like the more I'm involved in other communities, it's not that hard. It's a lot harder for me to ask for money or donations if I'm having a client party or whatever. But if I'm doing something for the community and I ask somebody for help, they're just right there. Like that one little caretaker cottage on Prospect Hills property. I was in a meeting with all these people and they were talking about how we need to have it inspected and then who would we call and how much is it going to cost? And here I'm texting the home inspector and he's like, oh my gosh, I would love to do that for free. You know, and here they're turmoiling over it. For me, that was really easy because I knew there would be people out there that do it for free. So that's great. Sarina, I know I didn't tell you. I started. I didn't, well, only because she brought that up. I knew that you were involved in RPAC, but I didn't. So do you want to talk about WCR and any of your involvement in that?
So I joined Women's Council probably 6 months after I got my license in 2018 and participated in a couple of the project teams the following year, and then started getting a little more involved. And this is my 3rd year serving on the board. And some of the things that I gained from that, first of all, just industry recognition. Walking into the Board of Realtors office and everybody knowing who you are sets a tone for your self-confidence when you're working with people in general. I've had the same situation with deals, with knowing the other agent on the other end, knowing their ethics, knowing that I participated in things with them, that we can expect this transaction's going to go nice and smooth. We know the end game as opposed to an agent I've never heard their name. So that's beneficial. I have had referrals from across the country. We do travel as a board. So I go to national twice a year. I go to the mid-year and then the national conference, and I have made connections throughout the country. So I have really strong partners to refer out to, and I've received referrals from out of state coming in that found me as an officer on Women's Council. So I've gained some business that way. And honestly, it has helped me with like organizing my business, knowing people, the affiliates. And we also partner with a charity every year in the community, a nonprofit and we try to keep it local. So we get involved in the community through the council as well. So that's one of our priorities as an organization as well. I'm also on RPAC, which I only serve on the fundraising task force, but I feel like that is, it's a big commitment and I invest my dollars there for different reasons than Darla, because I like it. I like the political junk. I like going to the meetings. I like meeting the senators. I don't know how far I'll take that as far as serving on a higher level than local, although we were just voluntold we're on the state.
We're on the
governmental affairs. So that was a voluntold situation, but it's all good.
Voluntold, I haven't heard that.
Doing things like that, going to the political action days, we've met people around the region that are outside our MLS too. And so we're expanding our network in Nebraska, not just Omaha, but in Nebraska and not nationally either. Community wise, I I can't remember, 2013, I established an event. I was a nurse for 20 years, and I established an event that is a fundraiser for a national organization, called the Sharp Race for Brain Aneurysm Awareness. And I have, up till the last 2 years, I was the director on that and ran the whole thing. That's a community of about 700 people that show up every year that fundraises to raise money for that. And through that, I do it because those people were super priority in my life. And I think it's hugely important. But I've made so many connections through that I've gained business from it, which is not at all why I did it, because I wasn't a realtor when I started it. But those people have gained trust in me because they know I'm not here for them and not me. And I've had that come back in the last 3 years. I've done deals with 3 prior patients, and I have 2 more that I'm, continuing to work towards opportunities with too, and staying involved in that. It's just, it serves everybody. So.
Let me ask all 3 of you, but I'll start with you, about how many hours a month would you say you put into these types of work?
She's getting better.
That's an important part.
I am learning.
She's getting
I am
better.
learning to say no. And that's huge too, is knowing what serves you and what serves your clients. Because I think we've all made choices that really doesn't serve the way my business is going. So I'm gonna decline that and go this direction.
And you have to know that you're gonna get 100%.
Yeah.
What you say yes to as well.
I would say currently being on the board, I'm probably putting 20 hours a month in a focus time on women's council. Depends on your position, obviously. Project teams, you can join women's council and just be involved and be a member and go to the monthly events and have no additional commitments than that. You can also get on the project teams, which is intermittent opportunities that's maybe 10, 12 hours over the course of a couple months, and then you're done. So there's a lot of different ways and all of those things.
Makes sense. How about you, Darla? How many hours a month would you?
I probably maybe 15. I mean, it depends on the part, because now we're start to go to different brokerages to do meetings, to educate everybody about our PAC. But as far as being a director on board, that's like a couple hours a month. That's it. And our PAC it depends, because sometimes we'll go to fundraisers for some of our candidates that are pro realtor, so we'll do some fundraisers and attend those, give check presentations. So it just kind of depends on the month. We also, like Sarina and I also go to the same church, so we're involved that way. And our church is extremely involved with Abide as well. So they get out and can Abide, We Care, and a whole bunch of different things, and even internationally too. So that's been fun. But you don't even have to be on the board to attend a meeting. Come to one of the Omaha Area Board of Realtors meetings. You could come to a governmental affairs meeting. You could come to an RPAC meeting. You can sit and just watch to see if you like what you see and you kind of want to learn more about it, or go to a committee meeting. I mean, there's fun people on there. There's, social events and all sorts of things that you can get involved in. You do get points.
Get points.
Or bring anybody. Yeah.
But you, any hours a month?
I don't do more than 20. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 20, but right now I'm doing websites, social media, and that kind of stuff. And so I'm trying to bring in more people to help me do some things, but I would say probably did more than that when I was doing more with the government affairs and that kind of thing. I took a step back because I only had so many hours in a day. So I attend that stuff and I participate in that stuff, but I'm really kind of focused just on the Springfield stuff. Yeah.
Even I have to leverage my time and I have to be very careful. And in December, I told my team when I accepted the position as president for restoration, I said, I promise I need more time. Because I was like, okay, if I'm the president, I actually am able to spend less time, which has turned out to be true. Now, I've chosen to use my time in other ways, but I'm actually doing less of the day-to-day stuff for Restoration Exchange Omaha because everybody's doing all the work in the company. And then we sit down at the meetings and then I oversee it.
That's a good leader, though,
Yeah.
because you delegate.
So to that point, some of the biggest things that my biggest takeaways, even mostly this year, have been about myself, about how I operate, what things I should do, shouldn't do. I have a point of when I leave any of these meetings, that I leave with no homework or things that I can handle. Like if it's maybe a few phone calls, it's right up my alley or whatever it is, I can handle that. But I've spent way too much time saying, oh, I'll do that, oh, I'll do that, I'll do that. And then even just recently, I'm finally saying, no, I've taken on. But the answer before that was to step away from the group altogether. Say, I can't be part of it because I'm taking on too much. No, I can still be part of it, but just take on the parts that I can truly own. Now, I still have more people in the room to call on, but while in preparation for this and speaking to a lot of people, some people that were going to join us, Glenda in Council Bluffs, Glenda, she is just an amazing woman. She's not here today. She's an example of somebody, Glenda, by the way. She is really into her community and she does a lot with foster children, bringing in kids that are in the process of, well, you can just imagine how horrible that kind of world is. And she has a big heart for it. And actually, she's allowed that to come into this time. She really enjoys taking care of the kids. Lindsay Shaven, she's in Council Bluffs. That woman is a rock star. She joined the Southwest Iowa area where Realtors as a volunteer, moved her way up. Before she knew it, even before she planned to, she was not now, I think last year, she was the president for Swire. And she got in there and she made a huge change to that organization and that they really needed so much that a lot of you may not know, she won Realtor of the Year last year, which was extremely impressive. It was because of her involvement. Emily Swinford, same thing. I just happened to be talking about Council Bluffs. Emily Swinford, same thing. She just kept getting busier and busier. She got really involved in Swire. She helped them kick off a podcast. So Swire, Southwest Iowa Area Board of Realtors, their podcast is fantastic. Something that Omaha can really learn from. And she really helped get that off the ground. She had some really good things to say. I asked if she couldn't be here either. She said her takeaways were all about being as genuine as you possibly can, keeping it simple, and being consistent. She said that was really important for her to be consistent. And then because of that, everything about her business is ground and her clients know that she's very, very, very involved in her community, in her professional community. And the last one I'll mention for the moment is Kathleen Elliott. She's another person that wanted to be here very quietly. And since she's not here, I can say it for her. She does a lot with her church. Every Wednesday, her and a bunch of people volunteer. They make 300 lunches, 300 hot lunches every Wednesday. And they deliver them to homeless people, literally homeless, and they have different spots they go around. She said they would love to do that every day. There's a need for it every day, but that group can only crank them out on Wednesdays. So people are going hungry, as we know. And the thing she talks about is how she mentioned, like what you said, Darla, like I meet other realtors coincidentally that happen to be there. And she goes, and then I know who the ones are that are going to stand out. I'm going to have a better transaction with them, a better rapport with them. Actually, on that note, oftentimes I'll hear people say, I don't want to join that organization because there's already another realtor. Well, then you're joining it for the wrong reason. I'm on Board of Restoration Exchange. I brought other realtors on that board. If I was there with the main purpose of trying to sell more houses to those people, I wouldn't be bringing realtors on. I have another friend, his name's Adam. He's a podcast. Adam Fletcher Sassy. He runs this very successful podcast called North Omaha Podcast. And he lives in Washington. And he's been community involved in his whole life. And he was telling me yesterday that his groups always say if you want to get the word out, you got to get a realtor on your board because we're very vocal. Because we're very vocal, we're very social, media, we bring attention. He goes, realtors are these walking cheerleaders. So it's funny that he's not a realtor, and for him to say that kind of blew my mind. I want to point to David for a moment. David Greiner.
Oh, no, I said Greiner.
Pardon me. He's been with us. Thank you. I appreciate that. He's with us for a few months now. David moved here from North Platte. He's been a realtor for a few years, but for a bit. But he's very, very involved in the chamber and some other things. So I wanted to give him the floor for a moment to talk about pretty much talk about the chamber, talk about the other organizations.
Well, it started with me 25 years ago with Rotary. I became a part of a member of Rotary Club and Charter Club in San Diego. I was working at the time. We were part of the core charter group. I became its third president. That led to Habitat for Humanity for me at that point. My career took me back and forth across the country, but then in 2019, I did a midlife career change, became a realtor, and in North Platte. I was born there. I didn't live there. I didn't grow up there. I didn't go to school there. Moved when I was a little kid. So I flew out for every 2 weeks to work for a few years when I was living there. So I didn't know anybody. But Rotary, again, presented itself, giving back to the community. The Rotary Club does, we build parks, we community food banks, food distribution to high school. The church I was involved with, we cooked a meal on Wednesdays. Through the pandemic, became a drive-through, but still fed, 300 meals on that Wednesday. Habitat became a part of that. I became a part of the family selection committee with North Platte's Habitat. So then when my life changed to bring me here in February, I'm here again with very few people that I know and have contacts with. So I'm starting this all over again. I was active with the Lincoln County Board of Realtors on a couple of the committees. I got my pin while I was in North Platte. And then I got in here with the Chambers of Commerce in North Platte. So coming here was a natural thing for me to become involved. I've become a part of West O and Greater Omaha. And I've been to 3 of their networking events already. And Rotary's done a couple of networking events. I've met several Rotarians that have crossed over from these networking events to invite me to their clubs to try to find that when my presidency of the North Platte Club comes to an end at the end of June, a club that I can become a part of. I'm also had a meeting this morning with the area director for Habitat, which is an entirely different creature than was in North Platte. But there's a lot of things that are going on with Habitat for Humanity, and I was talking with Tim before we started. There's an opportunity for first-time home buyers that through Habitat can qualify to purchase a home. Now we're talking in that first-time home buyer range that is outside of the normal banking mortgage processes, because these individuals that are in need of housing don't always meet that criteria. Also looking at 2% mortgage loans by doing this with Habitat. And what they're doing is getting these people into existing homes rather than the builds that they're doing, so that they can get homes that are that Habitat will buy, or that we may put up for sale as listing agents, and have these clients that can come to us by way of Habitat and be qualified to purchase these homes. We're going to try to work to see if we can't get him to one of our Friday lunch and learns to kind of talk a little bit more detail. We just kind of hit the 10,000 this morning, but I'll be getting involved with them. We've started laying the groundwork. The emails have already started this morning with that. So with Rotary, with Habitat, with the chambers, what I find is the giving to the community, the various things these organizations do. With Rotary, I was fortunate enough, our club in North Platte is building a medical clinic in Kenya. And there's a group of eye doctors who go do eye care missions every year. And I was fortunate enough to go down there with them, not this past January, but last year, for 12 days to do those eye care procedures and check on the status of our clinic that we're building and the funding that, we've, raise the money to build, and now the clinicians from the hospital are gonna start doing their residencies in the clinic and stuff like that. We're very fortunate to be a part of that, but that's also a life-changing trip too. Because you never really realize how good we actually have it until you visit somewhere like that. And there's always the one person that's life was completely changed, and that happened to us on our trip. And I can share that story privately versus in the open forum. But those kinds of things help me, on the board in Lincoln County, getting to know the other realtors and Rotary with the other business and business to business and the people, and being out in the parade and get me out there. And I feel good about the things that I'm doing, and the people that benefit from the things that I'm doing just kind of help build me to become a known versus an unknown face in the crowd, which is kind of where I'm at right now, doing the same kinds of things to do that. And it's helpful and it's meaningful. And I got my first touch on realtor.com last night. I've been here since February 15th. So, it's coming along, but it's a scary thing to just drop in the middle of nowhere. You don't know anybody and start over. It's, but it's working, and it's stuff I find fulfilling in it, and it takes time. Being president of the Rotary Club is near as time consuming as it is being a committee and all of those meetings and so forth. So you have to learn how to delegate your time accordingly, or it will eat you up.
I think it makes sense that you would, move into a new market and do what, join organizations that you were part of before. It's a way in the door, a legitimate way into your community. So thank you for that. And yeah, we do want to talk more about Habitat. We have a lot of good stuff. Earlier we were talking about Jerry Ahlvers. One of the things I forgot to mention is that he talks about when he was president of Nebraska Association of Realtors, that at the time he got so much business from other realtors in the state of Nebraska because they were having people coming or going from Omaha. And he was the standout realtor in America. So it goes to show how industry involvement actually does, like to your point, does come back to you as well as community. A few more I was going to share with you. Well, actually, Carole Souza has her hand raised. Yeah. And I know she had. Are we able to? Are you able to unmute yourself, Carole?
Can unmute yourself, Carole, and you can talk.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I love listening to all the involvement that all of you have, and it's really what we should be doing. We should always have that servant leader mindset. And I think, speaking to the Belong Project, if I can just kind of sidebar, I was going to be there with Tim today, except I had an injection in my back and my legs weren't working really well. So you didn't really want me there. So I just want to speak to the servant leader mindset that I think this whole Belong Project is speaking to. Tim, am I on the right track with saying that? Yes. Okay. My dad told me when I was young, my dad would always say, if you're going to get involved in anything, your kids are going to get involved in anything, get on the board, get on committees, make sure that you have a voice if you're going to be involved in organizations. And I took that to heart and started getting on board of directors when I was probably pretty young. But the one thing that has to be there, and I know from each one of you that has spoken, is you have to have a fire in your belly about the project or about what it's about, because that's the thing that keeps you going when all the politics come in and when all the rest of it come in. So I know a lot of people say when I'm coaching people, they say, well, I go to this church and I'm going to be doing lead generation with the people from the church. It kind of doesn't, that's like throwing sand in the air to me. I think where you really really become the trusted advisor is when people actually see you interacting and helping with whatever the project is, or the church, or giving of your time, and actually see you, if you're on a board, actually see you doing a dress rehearsal of how you will stand up for what you believe in, which is transfers over to you being a realtor and that trusted advisor. So I just want to, Tim, I want you to, if you can, also speak to like, what do we want to be known as here? You know, like, what's the Belong project all about as a whole? When, you know, one of the first things that I learned when I was being coached about budgeting was, and it kind of was like, how can I do that? It was like, you have to have, you know, the money that comes in for your business. You take part of it for your business. You take part of it out to pay yourself, to pay your bills for your house. You put some into savings, and then you put some part for giving. So it was like, you know, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/6, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not even making money. How can I put money away, or how can I give money to something else? But I think it's money or time. And it is about belonging. I think that's the best word that you guys could have come up with for this. So I am currently involved in, I'm on the broker advisory committee, the Northern America broker advisory committee for Buffini and Company. When I was VP of relocation, I was I was on the advisory committee for the leading real estate companies of the world. So I got to have these opportunities with, just like I think Darla and Sarina were talking about, like with people from other places, agents from other places, where you make these connections that are for life. And it's not just about real estate, you know, it's about the things that your kids are involved in your churches. But if you're not giving back, I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, you give it out in slices and it comes back in loaves. You guys have heard that one. You have to be giving it back, because we've got some great opportunities. And I think through this Belong project, we can make that happen and support each other. So that's the biggest thing I wanted to say, Tim, but I want you to speak to kind of the underbelly of what this is supposed to feel like as it's really growing.
Well, thank you. And yeah, that's just it. We're trying to kick this off and get you guys engaged so that you can come back to us and share the things that are important to you, share the things that you're learning, and share how it's impacted you, because that is what will motivate and excite other people to get involved as well. So our hope is that we're going to have a few takeaways when we're done, but is that going forward in our weekly mom meetings, is that we're going to set aside some time for us to have this conversation about what you're doing and share it back with us. Some people, it's because they just want to show off whatever it is they're doing. Some people need volunteers. Some people need money. So we just want to keep, this is the beginning of a longer term conversation. We're not going to slow down. Because it's just so important to be a part of your community and find a place that you belong outside of your work and your family. By the way, when I was talking to Carole yesterday, just in preparation for this, we were going over her and Laura's business right now, and they're exploding. Their spring business is huge, and she was able to just quickly go boom, boom, boom. She counted like 3 clients that came from these past organizations that she was involved in many years ago. And they're just relationships that build on relationships that build on relationships. So thank you, Carole, and thanks for your support. A few other things, other people that are really out there. I was talking about Audra. She's on the Dundee Merchant Association with me. She's also the captain of her tennis team. She's huge into tennis. She's her neighborhood watch captain. She's on the St. Margaret Mary's board, and she's with the Creighton alumni. I mean, my God, I have 4, and I thought that was Peter Manhart. He has been part of the Dundee Merchant or Neighborhood Association for years, and the flower baskets that we do in Dundee, or they do. He leads that. Him and a bunch of other people once a year. I mean, they come out, when they come out. They physically hang them once a week. A group of volunteers drive by with this little truck and they water them. And it's really awesome. Now, I don't have time to volunteer for that, but as a them being a neighbor, they are always asking for money. Well, I kick in more money than my fair share because I do. Because I feel like, oh, I don't have time to volunteer, so I'm going to get a little bit more money. They're happy with that. So, and and he's made a name for himself with that. Also, Omaha has, you guys may or may not know this, enormous amount of money in philanthropy. This city has got more, Omaha has more millionaires per capita than we ever seen in the country. And a lot of that is related to Warren Buffett and his family and all the deep pockets he helped create. But it's not just that. There is enormous amount of money. Oh, Stephanie Schroeder, she's another one that's not here today. She had a tragedy a few years ago. And because of that, she is really passionate about keeping drugs away from children and people that shouldn't have it. So once in a while, she talks about these little orange lock boxes we have with a listing. You can give it to the seller and they can put their drugs in it or take their drugs away, whatever. She is drawn to a passion because of a personal tragedy, but that has, would bet, helped save lives and help save relationships. So again, we just can't get out there enough. Oh, one more thing I was thinking of while I'm just making my random notes. We're talking about agent-to-agent business. One funny thing, a byproduct of business that I never expected is because I love old historic houses, is once in a while, some agents, even within our company, will have some great grand home, a historic home, and they feel intimidated by it. So let's say, hey, Tim, you want to partner with me on this? Oh, hell yeah. Ron Ruby last year came to me with the offer. You know, that house, and it's a stunning mansion. So we partnered, and he just sat back and collected commission. But it was beautiful. But if any of you have any historic mansions, I'm your guy. So does anybody else in the room have something that they do or somebody else that they want to point to, they want to call out, they want to share or talk about? Something they've done or do or did? Come on. Ooh. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are involved in their organizations or in other things, and they just kind of quiet about it because they're not trying to. Yes, Tom.
I can add something with that. Just you might be involved in these organizations, but don't be afraid to let them know that you're also in real estate.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it too. I mean, you might be helping out and everything, but if they don't even think of you as a realtor, they're not going to use you. So that's one thing I've noticed over the years with things is people may not promote the fact that that's also.
You're right. It's like you're not there for that reason, but you also don't want to be too quiet. Sometimes it's a simple name tag. Yeah. Sometimes it's also now one don't I forgot to mention is if you become a member of a board or anything, don't go download their list of members and then put them in your database. That is very, 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 very techy. And I've seen it done. And I've seen how people immediately be like, oh, that's my board. I'm on that group. I'm going to turn these into clients. You only put relationships in your database, not groups of names. Emily.
I just saw Kristen Lyle's hand is raised.
Speak up.
Hey there, it's Kristen. I'm not going to show you my screen because I look hideous, but I've got to get ready for tonight. Don't worry, girls. I will look great for the bingo, music bingo. But yes, making those relationships is huge. I've been on the board at my church, and because of my involvement and willingness to do whatever it takes to get my hands dirty and do the grunt work, I have received very good relationships and then work because of that, because they know I'm a realtor. So my database was built up just by these relationships that I made for referrals. Doing something I love to do. I love being involved in my church. The other thing is I started a Girl Scout troop at my children's elementary school, and a bunch of the moms in our troop, the kids' moms in our troop, they have tapped me to kind of be their representative. And I talk to their people that they're interested in buying houses. So I get referrals from that as well. And it's, showing that I'm willing to take the time, give of my time freely, help the kids, help the community. It really does make a difference, and you will make those, but it's taken a few years. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to basically prove yourself, but it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And now with a former at the Montessori school that my daughter went to, I was a member of the Girl Scout troop there as well. And her daughter and my children, my triplets, are all in the same grade. They're looking to move. So she tapped me because she remembered me from the Montessori and being involved with the Girl Scout troop there. So you never know how, and that was years ago. That was what, 4 years ago. So people will search you out if you've made an impression and you've shown them your passion. And like, I don't remember who it said, but you've got to have that fire in your belly. I think it was Carole who said that. You really do. If you are sincere in being a part of a group, people will notice that and seek you out. And other realtors, I think David said that, or whoever said that, you will end up making really great relationships across the country, but also across the state. And a lot of times your offer will be accepted over someone else's because they know how you work. They've known you in a different situation.
I want to add to Kristen just for 1 second, because you said that about the Girl Scouts. You can also kind of double do this by, like, you can buy Girl Scout cookies and use those for your Popeyes, so you're contributing to the organization. You're making their family really happy because the kids sold their Girl Scout cookies or whatever it is, and you're doing your Popeyes to your clients. I mean, that's a it's a boom, boom, boom. You're completely helping with this whole belong thinking. Even if you're not involved in like having the Girl Scout troop, you're part of all of it, and your clients benefit from it too. So there's a saying about give, ask, and then open yourself to receive, in that order. So if everything you do comes from that, give, ask, open yourself to receive, you're going to be fine, because it's all going to come back to you. And like Kristen said, it doesn't happen overnight, but you get enough of those going, and you are contributing, and you are the servant leader that you should be. And that turns into being the trusted advisor. So
exactly. Shameless plug. I still have Girl Scout cookies I need to get rid of. So if you want some Popeyes, give me a call.
Julia.
Just a quick little thing. So my son's a first grader now. And last year they have community club at his school, which is like the PTA, whatever. And so last year my husband and I would attend just as members, and it was poorly organized. And we were both educators for a decade at other schools, and we saw all of these awesome opportunities that the kids at those schools got to have because their community clubs were so strong, and they'd raise all this money and the kids would get to do all these things. And then at our own son's school, none of that was happening. And so we're like, oh, this is not okay. And so now you're looking at the treasurer and my husband's the VP, but we've raised like twice as much money already this year. And it's the type of thing where, like, I never say I'm a realtor, but it's as simple as like using my business email, and then they see my signature, so like people know I'm that. I've yet to see business from it. But people will like ask me opinions about things, and I can tell it's growing. But the intent is certainly not like, I want to be the realtor of the whole school. It's these kids should get the same opportunities that other schools in the district get. And we're on our way there. And it's like so exciting. But it's just a good example of like getting involved with something that you're passionate about. And then hopefully we'll see if business comes from it. But
thank you for sharing that. Sometimes things just fall into your lap, or they're around you. I teach a class at Metro on Monday nights, and I used to take the students to Habitat for Humanity's free store on 108th and Maple. Well, now they close at 6 o'clock, so I can't. But quarter after quarter after quarter, I would go and take a group of students, and we would rearrange the store, whatever it is that they needed, because they're paying their people minimum wage. They don't have a big budget to work on. And so here I have, 15 strapping students that could move this from over here. We created the nicest vignettes in their store, and it really looked quite beautiful. But one of the things that impressed me about it was that I often get students that are international, and to hear the story, what the Habitat for Humanity does, what they do around the world. People in other countries, they never heard of this. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? And so that was really, really a beautiful thing. I don't go there anymore. I found a new organization, and I found out about it through one of my students. Actually, I'll take my students there, and we'll volunteer whatever it is. So Lutheran Family Services has an organization called Family Works. And what they do is they service, this is so sad. They service, their main priority is pregnant, intravenous using drug women. Okay, and so they're the first person on their list. Okay, you're not getting a house from that. But to be able to help those people, so they have a beautiful building actually down on, I think it's 23rd and I want to say Laurel, but that isn't right. It's right by where they do, right by North Star. You can see North Star from where they are. And they have these apartments set up that used to be luxury apartments that sort of fell from grace. But they restore those, and these women live in these apartments with another women. They're able to have their children with them, and it's a program to keep them clean, off drugs, and they can't smoke. That's one of the things that they have to give up, is they cannot smoke cigarettes because that's a trigger. So they work with them intensely. So what I do with my students is like, okay, what do you need in an apartment? You need dishes, you need a pizza cutter, you need a shower curtain, you need silverware, glasses, cups. What do you need to start an apartment so you can get a drive? And then you bring those down and you hear all about what they do. Nobody knows about it. You don't think about it. It's something, it's a part of our community, like feeding the homeless, that really don't want to think about, but it's out there. And the students are touched. They are very, very touched and have learned about that. So things might just fall in your lap. It's like, check it out. You can make a difference. And, making a difference. Now my students know about that. They're going to be aware that there's a place that takes care of them. And I would have never known about it if the student in my class wasn't brave enough to tell me about it, that she was part of that. And so it touches my heart, and you never know what can come up. It could be in your kid's school, or it could be anything. It could be an organization that's industry related, or it could be something that's happening in your own neighborhood, like so. You feel good about it.
The building you were talking about, I driven by, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what it is, and they're saving families, they're keeping them together, and I just love that.
So as we wrap up, years ago when I was, I used to follow Floyd Wickman, who's still in the business. He's a trainer, and he had 5 core principles, and one of them was live by the give by giving philosophy. And Mary Ware Wolf, who's gone now, she was a realtor in Omaha forever. She was always like, you can't give it away fast enough. The more you give away, the more it comes back to you. And there is some real truth to that. And the last thing I'll say, when years ago when I ran the Good Life Group of Teens, we had an office in the Blackstone district, and right across the front windows, we had this ribbon that I had made, and it had the Zig Ziglar quote that said, you can get everything in life you want by helping other people. And that was the entrance when you walked in, because it was kind of our philosophy. It's just, we're here for everybody else, and it all comes back to us. So we're wrapped up. Our goal and hope is that we are just starting the conversation of community and industry involvement. We are looking at possibly creating some way, website that you can, if you're part of something that you want to share, if you need volunteers, you need money, whatever, you can share that on the website, because we want to be more vocal about what we're doing in our community. And at the same time, if you know somebody else that is doing something, because we're often very quiet about it, and you think that they need attention or just need to be recognized, please bring that to us.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, I know Amy had her hand
Yeah,
up.
I just wanted to share something too. I've been on a couple different boards, and I'm currently on boards and organizations. And I think sometimes it's a little intimidating as real estate agents, because usually when they are vetting and adding to their boards for a lot of these nonprofits, they're not necessarily advertising that they're looking for a real estate agent. But if you think about it, we are natural connectors. What do we always tell our people? Oh my gosh, if you need anything, if you need a painter, if you need a CPA, anything, that's what we do. And we love to do it. We love to share. And so if you think about it, it's such a beautiful marriage of that, because on the board, like I know the boards I'm on, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me connect you. Let me do a warm introduction. Oh, you're going to that. 2 of my clients work there. And you can also add to their donor base, talking to your friends and all these people, we're always trying to connect people. It's a really nice way, but I would encourage you to, like everybody's been saying, just to piggyback on that find something you're really passionate about, and then it doesn't feel like you're spending extra time. It doesn't bury us. And so then and it really is in its purest form. It's not about what you get back. It's not about like, oh, well, I'm trying to be the realtor or whatever. But you need to break through so they don't think that's why you joined it also. So if you can give enough, it naturally will, organically, you will get connections from it. Not that that's why you're doing it, but so I just.
Well, Kathleen and I were talking today about Kathleen Elliott about how I would quit this and just do my.
Oh, 100%.
Because it's so much more fun. So much, this just pays the bills. So.
Same.
Well, thank you all. Good ATA, good discussion, and let's just keep the community involvement going.
Thank you, Tim.